I want to welcome you all to the final annual meeting of the Care Work and the Economy Project. Some of you have woken up early in the morning while others are staying up late in the evening to be with us here today and in the next 2 days in order to take stock of what this project has accomplished, to listen to the research findings conducted in its final year, to reflect on the challenges faced and lessons learned, and to find out more about the next steps that will be taken in other countries. As this project comes to a close, I want to acknowledge the generous support of our funders, the Flora and William Hewlett Foundation, and the Open Society Foundations. I want to give special mention to the Hewlett Foundation Global Development and Population Director, Dana Hovick, and his predecessor, Ruth Levin, and the GDP Program Officer, Althea Anderson. I also want to give special mention to the Open Society Foundation's Women's Rights Program Director, Kavita Ramdas, and Senior Program Officer, Marina Durano. Both Althea Anderson and Marina Durano will be sharing their reflection on the third day of this annual meeting in May 14. Special mention, I also want to give special mention to my co-PI, Elizabeth King, who has been with me throughout this journey and whose extensive experience in project program and organizational management, and whose keen eye for detail and for effective communication contributed tremendously to this project. Our advisory board, Diane Elson, Nancy Folbray, Yong Ok Kim, Karen Groen, and Emiko Ochai, provided guidance and advice throughout the project. And they are such good troopers that they also served as moderators, reviewers, authors, and coordinators. I want to also acknowledge the able leadership of our project working group coordinators, Elisa Bronston, Ki Soo-eun, Marcia Fontana, and Yong Ok Kim for their work in this project. And our 40 plus project scholars from 12 countries whose analytical skills, insights, and expertise produce innovative and creative research and policy tools. I also want to mention our partner institutions, the Center for Transmigration and Social Inclusion at Seoul National University and the Levy Economics Institute. Finally, but not least, our project manager, Shireen Arslan, and her predecessor, Charlotte Pryor, who undertook the day-to-day task along with a wonderful communications team of managing and overseeing the project's activities. I would like now to provide an overview of the project and the journey that it took in the last 4 years. Okay. The Care Work and the Economy project started in 2017 to produce new innovative research that incorporates the care economy and gender explicitly in policy tools in order to demonstrate the importance of understanding the economic and social implication of care work, to promote public investment in care provisioning, and ultimately reduce gender gaps in economic outcomes, advance gender equality, and promote sustainable development. Our organizational structure involves a consortium of 40 plus scholars and a core leadership team that includes the coordinators of the 3 working groups. We also have a 5-member advisory board. Our scholars are grouped into three working groups, namely Rethinking Macroeconomics, Understanding and Measuring Care, and Gender-Aware Applied Modeling. A fourth component was added midway of the project, when some scholars undertook research that examine how care needs vary across different economic settings and socio-cultural contexts, how care needs are likely to grow and also change over time by making projections towards 2030 and 2050. In addition, there have been recent independent initiatives, such as those undertaken by researchers in Colombia and implemented in 2019, and by scholars who will be leading the Care Economies in Context project and the Care Work and the Economy Africa Adaptation Project. You will hear more about these independent initiatives in the last session of our annual meeting on May 14. As I have mentioned earlier, this project also is in partnership with two institutions, the Center for Transnational Migration and Social Inclusion of Seoul National University and the Levy Economics Institute. Our work is based on the premise that reducing gender gaps in economic outcomes, promoting gender equality and inclusive growth, require that countries implement a comprehensive policy agenda to address care needs. The underlying analytical framework of the project situates the aggregate economy or the macroeconomy within the broader social system comprised of different institutions, political, cultural, economic, and social, which are permeated by social norms and social relations. We adopt the feminist economics notion of the economy as constituted by provisioning activities. These provisioning activities take place in the market sector of the economy, which we are very familiar with, as well as the non-market sector involving households and their communities, and rely on both paid and unpaid labor, including care labor. In our framework, we make the paid care sector, which is often buried in the services sector category, visible in the market economy, alongside the government sector and other economic sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, and other care services. The overarching vision and goals of the project are strikingly relevant during the COVID-19 pandemic, which unraveled worldwide the significance and importance of caring for children, the elderly, and the sick in sustaining and maintaining societies and the economy. The research in this project challenges the undervaluation of care work and the invisibility of care in policy making, particularly in macroeconomic policies. Starting out with research done by Working Group 2, they provide an in-depth examination of the nature of unpaid care and paid care in South Korea and their impact on the well-being of these carers and the care recipients. For this, we made use of in-depth interviews and data collection using detailed survey of household care providers, as well as elder care and childcare workers in different settings. In addition, we also developed methodological tools to capture the full extent of care provisioning by measuring the paid and unpaid care sector of the economy. You will hear 3 of these research papers in the next session. Scholars in Working Group 1 developed theoretical and empirical macroeconomic models that integrate emerging understandings of gendered behaviors and dynamic linkages between care provisioning, fiscal policies, labor supply, demographic change, time and income poverty, microfinance, and fiscal policies, labor, and the macroeconomy. Working in teams, Group 1 researchers identify the different channels through which economic policies interact with the provision of care services and trace the growth and distributional outcomes, both in the short run and in the longer run. By combining feminist methodologies with conventional economic tools, the body of work produced by Group 1 scholars demonstrate how the incorporation of care into macroeconomic models can illuminate a more complex range of policy impacts on labor supply, growth, distribution, and gender equality. Working Group 3 macroeconomies have developed care-focused, gender-aware macroeconomic models as and behavioral, as well as behavioral scientists, social scientists that have developed policy tools to be used by the wider community of policymakers and economists in order to promote gender-aware policies that provide quality care and enhance women's capacities. Using insights and informations from Groups 1 and 2 research, Group 3 researchers developed a methodology for examining labor market policies, decisions of paid and unpaid caregivers, and the methodology for integrating the care sector in a social accounting matrix database, and then identifying the feedback effects in a GEMCare computable general equilibrium model used in policy evaluation. You will hear more about these policy tools in tomorrow's session. With new information about paid and unpaid care work and the development of innovative gender-aware policy tools, we hope to contribute in the current discussions and policy debates by highlighting the centrality of quality care provisioning to achieve gender equality, inclusive growth, and caring societies. There are some key features of the project that I would like to mention now. This project is interdisciplinary. It involves the collaboration of researchers from different disciplines: economics, sociology, demography, time use research, and many others. This project maintains pluralism in perspective and method. Project scholars use a variety of analytical approaches and tools developed in different schools of thought: heterodox, feminist, political economy, structuralist, and mainstream economics. The project emphasized open-mindedness in the approach and standpoint adopted by various research teams. That said, concepts and terms may have different meanings across paradigms and across social science disciplines. And so, one of the challenges that occasionally surfaces has to do with different perspectives and focus among various researchers. The ongoing debates and disagreements, in my view, are vital in sharpening one's analysis, test our mettle, and also broaden one's mindset. Because of the nature of this project, frequent internal communications is very vital. Given the interconnectedness of the different components, periodic meetings are important in ensuring the steady exchange of ideas, information, and preliminary results among the research clusters or teams. And finally, Stakeholder engagement. There have been consultations and meetings with stakeholders, namely policymakers and government officials, academics, care workers, and advocacy groups from the early stages of this project. And we try to continue these engagements throughout the project life. These engagements enabled us to be aware of the existing knowledge gaps, as well as key policy questions and debates around care, and help sharpen the focus of the project research. In the next 2 days, we will have sessions on research gaps and insights from research to policy. One more thing, democratic governance. The project early on adopted a code of conduct that was shared with the project scholars. The code of conduct clarifies the values and principles to which the project scholars are expected to abide. Consultative meetings, accountability, and monitoring mechanisms were made in order to ensure smooth implementation and in order to achieve our project goals. I'd like now to share a snapshot of the project timeline and highlight its main activities. When we started this project in late 2016, we held a planning workshop, an inception workshop, that led to the development of a research plan and a project proposal. An organization meeting was held in 2017 that gathered key researchers from various disciplines together, united around a vision and a research strategy to meet the project goals. Those are the 2 yellow stars in the timeline. Scholars shared their progress, their work in progress research in 2 annual meetings held in Berlin in 2018 and in Glasgow, Scotland in 2019. Those are the 2 triangles in order to obtain feedback. Adjusting to the pandemic mode, we held several webinars in 2020 and 2021 to continue this interactive process of exchanges among our researchers, and that's the long bar. Our project uses South Korea as its case study for developing gender-sensitive policy tools and for deepening our understanding of care performed under different care arrangements. Korea faces several challenges brought about by demographic shifts and economic change. Although the country experienced rapid economic growth and significant progress in other aspects of human development, the increase in life expectancy, one of the highest in the world, and very low fertility rate, one of the lowest in the world, have given rise to heavy care burdens. This meant that household members, particularly women, face increasing care demands that they are struggling to meet. The unraveling of both serious short-term and longer-term economic and welfare consequences have alarmed policymakers and the society at large. It is like a pre-pandemic crystal ball that foretells as to what could happen to an economy and society if gender and care are not adequately addressed. In 2018, our SNU team conducted in-depth interviews and supervised the survey of paid and unpaid elder care and childcare workers throughout Korea, and yield tremendously useful information and a unique data set not collected in standard household and labor force surveys. In 2019, our engagement with care workers advocacy groups in South Korea occurred in 2 international conferences held in February and October 2019. These conferences provided invaluable insights on the experiences and concerns of the care workers in South Korea. And those are the two hearts in our timeline. We also held a validation workshop in 2019 in Seoul, involving several Korean economies and government officials to get their comments on two policy tools that we developed: the methodology for measuring the paid and unpaid care sectors in South Korea, and the integration of the care sector in the database called Social Accounting Matrix used in policy analysis. You will find the 33 working papers, some to be published in the forthcoming special issues of Feminist Economics and World Development journals, alongside policy briefs and blogs in our website. This coming June and July, we have two more important activities, namely the Policy Dialogue Conference that will be held in South Korea, in Seoul, and the intensive course on macro modeling for policy analysis. Let me talk about the forthcoming 2021 International Conference on the Care Economy in Korea, beyond COVID-19 and towards a sustainable caring society, that will be held June 2 to 4 in the next few weeks. Center for Transnational Migration and Social Inclusion in Seoul National University and the QIGAM, the Care Work and the Economy Project based at AU, will host this conference for international scholars, research institutions, civil society groups, and government ministries. This conference will bring together these groups to discuss ways toward building a more caring, equal, and resilient society in the post-pandemic world. The conference will be held both online and live. I would like to take this opportunity to invite you all to attend the conference on June 2 to 4 Korean time, which will be June 1 to 3 Eastern Standard Time. You can learn more about the conference in our website in the coming days. The final activity of the project is a 3-week intensive course on gender-sensitive macroeconomic modeling for policy analysis. This will be held on June 28th to July 17th. This is organized by the Levy Economic Institute and the Care Work and the Economy Project. The purpose of this course is to engage with fellow economists in order to enhance their capacity to conduct research and to teach gender-sensitive economic analysis with a focus on care and macroeconomic policy aspects. The virtual format of this course is admittedly quite challenging to plan and to organize. But the 10 core instructors and additional facilitators will be conducting this course in 3 time zones: the Americas, the Africa and Europe time zone, and the Asia region. The virtual format, however, has one positive benefit. It made it feasible for the organizing committee to select over 70 fellows from 28 countries, majority of whom are women, to attend the intensive course. I have a concluding slide, but I'll just say it nonetheless. Quality research and rigorous policy analysis are necessary to build evidence-based recommendations and to inform policymakers. But the role of advocacy groups is important as well as both in the mobilization and public campaigns for public goods and global commons, and to the remaking of social contracts between governments and its citizens. Our research outputs are primarily couched in a language that is comprehensible to other academics, but not necessarily to policymakers, advocacy groups, and the public at large. A communications team was therefore established in year 3 of the project in order to translate these research findings into briefs and think pieces that can be disseminated to policymakers, civil society groups, the press, and the media. Along the way, we faced several challenges, such as serious gaps in data, of course, the pandemic, and the occasional hurdles that inevitably accompany this kind of project. We fail at times, but we learn. And then we try again and adapt. Thank you